It always begins the same way. A screen lights up in the dark. A vibration travels through fabric and skin. A small red dot appears like a quiet promise. Nothing dangerous. Nothing dramatic. Just a notification. And yet somewhere deep inside the brain, something wakes up. Not curiosity. Not interest. Hunger. The kind of hunger that is not felt in the stomach but in the mind. A thumb moves almost without asking permission. The screen unlocks. The feed begins. And without realizing it, the mind steps into a system that knows it better than it knows itself. The first pull. First, it feels random. A funny clip. A dramatic story. A shocking headline. A familiar face. The feed feels like chaos arranged by accident. The mind scrolls. It laughs. It pauses. It scrolls again. Time stretches quietly and then disappears. The brain whispers, "Just one more," like a harmless promise. But one more is never just one. Because what appears on the screen is not chance. It is selection. Every pause is a signal. Every replay is a message. Every second of attention is a vote. Without speaking, the mind tells the system what it wants. The system listens, not with ears, but with data. Slowly, invisibly, it begins to learn. The machine that watches without looking. The algorithm does not sleep. It does not forget. It does not feel tired or distracted. It watches patterns endlessly. How long the eyes stay. Where the thumb stops. What is skipped without thought. What is replayed without hesitation. Every movement becomes information. It does not care what is true. It does not care what is healthy. It does not care what is kind or wise. Cares about one thing only. Attention. Because attention is time, and time is money. So it asks one silent question over and over again. What keeps this person here longer? And once it finds the answer, it repeats it. The first trick. Emotional hooks. The feed begins to change. But not suddenly. Slowly, gently, almost kindly. More content that shocks. More content that angers. More content that excites. More content that scares. Calm does not hold attention. Emotion does. The brain reacts fastest to fear, anger, desire, outrage, and validation. These emotions release chemicals that sharpen focus and narrow awareness. Dopamine makes the brain crave more. Adrenaline keeps it alert. Cortisol makes it tense and watchful. The algorithm learns which emotion works best for each person. And then it feeds that emotion back again and again. Not because it is cruel, but because it is effective. The second trick. Variable rewards. Some posts are boring. Some are unforgettable. Some vanish from memory instantly. Others stay. The brain never knows which one is coming next. This is not an accident. It is the same psychology used in slot machines. Uncertainty creates addiction. If every post were amazing, the brain would relax. If every post were terrible, the brain would leave. But when reward is unpredictable, the brain becomes obsessed. Maybe the next one will be better. Maybe the next one will surprise me. Maybe the next one will matter. The thumb keeps moving, not because it wants to, but because it hopes. The third trick. Identity reflection. Over time, the feed begins to feel personal. It shows opinions that feel familiar, stories that feel relatable, beliefs that feel safe. The mind feels understood, feels seen, feels mirrored, but the system does not understand. It reflects. Whatever is watched grows. If anger is watched, anger appears more. If fear is watched, fear multiplies. If admiration is watched, admiration expands. Slowly, the feed becomes a mirror of the mind. But mirrors do not show truth. They show repetition. And repetition feels like reality. The fourth trick. The illusion of majority. Post after post agrees. Comments repeat the same tone. Videos echo the same beliefs. The brain begins to assume this is what everyone thinks. This must be normal. This must be right. But it is not everyone. It is selection. The algorithm does not show what is balanced. It shows what matches. So the mind slowly walks into a tunnel where disagreement disappears. Not because it does not exist, but because it does not keep attention. And what does not keep attention does not survive. The fifth trick: time collapse. The clock fades. Minutes feel like seconds. Hours feel like moments. This is time distortion. The brain enters a focused state where the outside world grows quiet. Hunger waits. Sleep delays. Responsibility blurs. The algorithm learns exactly how long attention lasts before boredom appears. And just before boredom arrives, it changes the content. A twist, a shock, a new emotion, and the cycle begins again. The sixth trick: social validation. A post is shared. Numbers rise. Likes appear. Comments grow. The brain reacts. Validation feels like safety. Approval feels like belonging. Every notification becomes a tiny reward. Not because it truly matters, but because it feels like being seen. The mind begins to check, not for information, but for reassurance. How many? Who liked? Who replied? The feed slowly becomes a mirror of self-worth. And the algorithm notices. It offers more chances for validation, not to help, but to keep. The seventh trick: fear of missing out. Stories disappear. Trends fade. Moments vanish. The mind feels pressure. If I do not check now, I will miss it. This is not urgency. It is anxiety. The system uses time as a weapon. Temporary posts. Limited stories. Fast trends. The brain hates loss. So it checks and checks again. Not because it enjoys it, but because it fears not knowing. The quiet change. Over time, something shifts. Attention shortens. Patience weakens. Silence feels uncomfortable. The mind begins to crave stimulation. Not joy, not meaning, but stimulation. Calm feels boring. Slow feels painful. Stillness feels empty. The algorithm did not create this. It amplified it. It followed the signals it was given. But now it leads. The realization. One day, the phone is set down, and something feels wrong. The room is quiet. The mind is restless. Thoughts feel loud. Without noise, the brain does not know what to do. Because it has learned to depend, not on knowledge or connection, but on stimulation. And stimulation is never satisfied. The truth about control. The algorithm does not hate. It does not plan. It does not desire. It responds. It follows attention like a shadow. Where the mind goes, it follows. What the mind feeds, it grows. Control does not begin with machines. It begins with behavior. The algorithm did not shape the mind first. The mind trained the algorithm. And now, they shape each other. The way out. Control only works when it is invisible. Once seen, it weakens. Not by force, but by choice. Awareness changes signals. What is watched grows. What is ignored fades. The algorithm only reflects what is given. Change the input, and the reflection changes too. Not instantly. Not easily. But inevitably. The ending. The phone lights up again. A vibration. A sound. A red dot. Nothing dangerous. Nothing dramatic. Just a notification. But now, the mind pauses. Not because it must resist, but because it understands. And understanding is the one thing the algorithm cannot predict. Because once behavior becomes conscious, it stops being automatic. And automatic is where control lives. If this story made you look at your screen differently, share what part of it felt most real to you. Leave your thoughts below. Talk about how social media has changed the way you think or feel. And if you want more deep, story-driven breakdowns like this, support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you do not miss what comes next.